Yeah, hello, inhabitants of South Africans. I just want to dissect this pandemonium scandal that is hovering pertaining the EFF and their leadership board, the top six, and so on and so forth. But I'm just going to be very crystal clear, quite frankly, in a nutshell. I'm just going to embroil this pandemonium scandal of Ndlozi and the commission squabbles, quarrel within the EFF. It is patently absurd and grossly unfair that these people have been trying to be very diplomatic and they've been very, how can I put it? They've been very manipulative on how they retaliate or respond to this question of the absentia of Dr. Ndlozi. You know, the first time I've had them tackling this question, they used to say there are plethora tons of political members within the EFF. There was like, it even tantamounted to something like 2,500, if I recall quite well, according to SG's statement, Secretary General of the EFF, which is Dlamini. He mentioned the fact that there is numerous number of political members within the EFF. They don't know who's going to be present, who's going to be absent. And it's a mind-boggling and it's very outrageous for them to try to avert or aloof themselves from retaliating to this particular question. They've been acting very diplomatically pertaining this issue. And it's very clear now because according to the latest articles and the latest responses from CIC, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, if I'm not mistaken, pertaining NPA and their conference of democratic elections to place or deploy these people in high incumbents within the EFF, that tantamounts to things like other political spaces or vacancies, like deputy presidents who's been exited from the EFF, so they basically wanted to replace that particular individual. They say it's democratic, but this democracy is in question. It arouses eyebrows, because according to the dissenting voices from the masses, they differ from these people who are serving in high incumbents because I think there is dissonance. They denounce Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, to be part and parcel of the people who's potentially could be elected for these particular incumbents. But now they're just swerving from the whole question, trying to beat around the bush and kept on bickering as if they're not even concerned. They call it nonsense when this question arises from the journalist to say, where is Mbuyiseni Ndlozi? Because we've seen him for the past couple of years being a very active person within the political space, within the political terrain. But now it arises eyebrows, and I'm so bewildered and appalled by this pandemonium scandal because they kept on acting diplomatic. But yesterday, I think they decided to gush out their anger rather than to maybe be diplomatic about it. Hence, they then began to pejoratize, to to, how can I put it, to be flippant against this question and say, everyone who's supposed to be in this conference is supposed to be here. The ones who are absent, they're just not supposed to be here. In fact, they were not even supposed to be there. So you could see the level of disparity and the discrepancy on how these leaders are being treated. It is patently absurd, and it shows that this person is being thwarted the opportunity, to be a potential deputy president at some point somewhere somehow. Even though I'm oblivion, because whatever that I'm saying is based on allegation, on how I dissect pertaining this topic, on how I look at it, on how I mimicked it, based on how it is depicted to us. Even though we understand the tabloids that are disseminating that it is basically trajected to us with a certain narrative that suits certain individual and so on and so forth. So this commission is still going to be there as long as Mbuyiseni Ndlozi identify himself as the member of the EFF. So it's not going to come to an end, and it will cause a lot of harm because we can see something sinister is about to take place over there. And I'm quite sure that they are intimidated by his silenceness pertaining these issues and these matters. He hasn't responded to any media platforms or any journalist. He's just silent. He's just playing a silent game, you know. And some people were just alleging or assuming or purporting that he might just appear in the, what you might call this, within the MK, because MK is also having this anniversary conference kind of stuff. So they assume, because every leader of the AFF seem to be gravitating more towards the MK than other political spectrums. But then we will see as it unfolds. So I think now it's very clear, it's very candid, and they are blatantly clear that they just don't want this particular individual. They call him egocentric, pompous, self-important, cynical, assuming that he is bigger than the organization, and so on and so forth. They label him, embroiling his name with all sorts of name, in the name of trying to put him in a corner where he's just trying to probably divide the EFF or obliterate the EFF according to their perceptions and their sentiments and their analogy that they've shared on social media. So we will see as it unfolds, but it's very clear that they're grappling with a lot within these vacancies that avails themselves. And if you could quote from Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, I think it's one of his clips of videos where he referenced to Walter Sisulu, that Walter Sisulu was indeed a great leader, but he was not only looking at incumbents for only himself. He was recruiting even other people with prowess, which is skill and ability, you know, to advance the leadership of the ANC movement. At that point in time, he was not pompous, he was not cynical, he was not profiling himself or anticipating to have these high incumbents. It was not the case, because he recognized other caliber of guys who can take the movement into another dimension. But this one, it seems like he's very pompous, self-interest only, rooting this organization within himself, and he's threatened and intimidated by other people who've got the capacity and the potential to take this organization to another level. Some people are saying they forfeit themselves, you know. Some people are saying he's very sarcastic in terms of how he articulates things. He doesn't have respect and so on and so forth. Yeah, that might be the case. You see him even attending, what you might call this, it's attending court cases, telling the judges that they are unprofessional and so on and so forth. He seems to be so untouched. But the bewildering and appalling part is when he cried literally tears to show that he is moved by the way in which things are moving. But let me just digress from that and say this is from my source of observation. It has got nothing to do with any conducive tangible evidence that vindicates or validates the fact that this is true. This is just based on perception. This is based on sentiments. And this is based on what they've submitted so far. So just thought you'll perceive a proper understanding of what I was trying to portray here. Have a lovely day. Have a lovely one. I'm not a political pundit. I'm just sharing my sentiments as well. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.